Hello, hello. I can't believe it. November 1st. Oh my goodness, how the time flies. Yes, it's been 2 weeks and I am doing my monthly garden tour. Let's start in the front yard, and as you can see, I am starting to work on this a little bit. This is working out really well. I've got lettuce growing in there, bok choy, I've got some purple mustard I think coming up in there, and of course the walking onions I put in the trays. Let's see if I can get you down here. Hope I'm not moving you around too much. See how nice this is? Nothing can eat it. Yeah, I put a couple seeds in there. I don't know if it's the right time of the year to do it, but I'm going to try. And there's some bok choy. Same that was there probably 2 weeks ago. And my containers I'm starting to slowly fill up. So I'm getting them prepped so I can start to plant in them. The squash is doing pretty good. I don't know how much squash I'll get as it gets cooler, but look at that. Oh, see this? Oh my goodness, those are bugs. We got aphids in here. I have to get rid of this, and we're going to have to work on that. I will do a complete different video on that and what I'm going to do, but I don't have birds in the front yard, so I have to dust it off. So I've got to bring the birds in the front yard, and I'm going to set this up to be bird friendly. Once the birds are in here, that's a delicacy on that squash. They'll be in that squash and just pecking away. So I'm going to worry about that later, not right now. But Gary did set up this table for me here so I can set up some bird seed, and I'm going to get some water features in here, and this should be really good. I'm going to try to back up without falling. I'm not watching what I'm doing. So that's the front garden. I've got celery growing in here, and garlic chives back there, and of course I've got some red sorrel and a little bit of lettuce and some sprouting broccoli back there. But this is a work in progress, so this is going to take time. And no hurry. I'm in no hurry. You know, however long it takes me, I got to get through the holiday season, and I've already discussed on that. I've got artwork I do, and then I'm always the one making the holiday dinners. So, you know, it all takes time. So however long it takes me, it's not like I need a garden right now. I'm going to continue planting in the bricks here and keep going and see how this goes. And sometimes if they don't seem to be doing well, what I might do, like here, I might actually just put a flower pot inside the brick and let the roots go out and grow on its own. So there's different ways of doing that. But there's the pool. So this will all be set up later on as the year goes on, probably more in the beginning of the year. I'll get more and more things done. Here's the tomatoes. Oh, I've got to groom these. But they're doing really good. Look at that. There was more. Gary and I snack on these all the time, and oh, we had a guy come over, and he has a farm to table setup where people go to his place or whatever. He's setting something up. He was really excited over these midnight snacks. This is a hybrid tomato. I did find this out, not from him. I did some research. So in order for me to continue to keep this particular tomato going, I'm going to have to do cuttings, because if I keep the seeds, most likely I will not end up with that tomato. I'm going to end up with a good tomato probably, but it won't be the same. And this is really good tasting. See, I could actually cut this off right here and plant this one plant, and that would be a new plant. And what is good is I know a lot of everybody is going into winter here, especially in the US, but of course in Australia and other places, you're going into spring, I believe. Here, going in the winter, I could do multiple cuttings on this plant, and I might, if it gets too cold, I can take multiple cuttings and put it on my windowsill in pots. And they're not going to grow good in the house, which is fine, even though I had a friend that grew tomatoes last winter in his living room. He had tomatoes growing. Isn't that something? But the thing is, if I can keep the cuttings alive, and even if they're stressed, it doesn't matter. Come spring, when it's time to plant, I could then move them all outside, and most of the ones that were even stressed out will just take off and flourish. So that's a way to save the plant. If you've got tomatoes you really like, bring in a bunch of cuttings. You can either do it in water. You can take the cutting and put it in water and let it root, or you could stick it directly in a small pot with some damp soil and let it root that way and leave it in there. You can put multiple stems in one pot. You know, you could stick a small square pot and put a whole bunch of them in there and let them root in there, and then come spring, just break it apart and, you know, gently break the roots apart underneath, not off, but, you know, take it apart and put it in the ground. But if you did it separate, you could just take the whole container and stick it somewhere and let them grow. But that's the walking onion. I've got the regular basil that's growing here, and this is my peppermint that's still growing. I have seen that a lot of my stevia is starting to get sparse. Let me swing you around. Yes, there's that fig tree I never stuck in the ground. See what's going on with the stevia? I actually have a stevia on my windowsill. And it didn't grow as nice as it would where it's outside, but I noticed it died back. See all the stevia dying back? It's coming to the end. So I will let it do it, you know, let it do its thing, and then I'm going to trim it back and all the dead parts. It's gone the flower very heavily. The bees have been here. But it is the time of the year where it's going to die back. But hopefully, if all goes well, it will be back in the spring. Bigger and better. I have noticed when they come back, they're even bigger because they keep getting bigger every year. And of course, I've got my turmeric, which is the big leaves. These are the turmeric. And then I've got the ginger growing. And that will keep going until the weather gets really cool. Look at this. I want to show you this. See this? That's ginger. And that's ginger. That's the last pieces a couple months ago I bought from the grocery store because they were growing. They were probably irradiated, so they're stunted. They really won't grow. They probably won't do anything, but I'm just going to leave them in case they take hold and start. The other word is electronic pasteurization. If you see that, it's been irradiated. I don't want to get into that, but this is what happens now when you get them from the grocery store. And if they did go through radiation, they won't grow. These did not. So, you know, if you need to get some, you'd have to either buy it online from somebody that grows ginger, so you know 100% it's not irradiated, or go to some farmers markets and see if they're selling theirs that are growing from their farm or their house, but sometimes they tell you they are, and they're picking it up from different places and reselling it, so you have to be careful. See, stevia, it's all dying back. It kind of looks sad. The leaves are droopy. There's nothing you can do. It's done. It's this time of the year. I'm gonna bet you in 2 weeks it's gonna look really bad when I come back. But you know, that's nature. Am I gonna keep some of the seeds? Question was not just look at the seeds. Oh, maybe I will. I have really nothing to lose. I've never kept the seeds. Maybe I will keep some seeds and try it. So we'll see. Was that question for you or for me? Probably for me. So now let's go into the regular garden. Okay, now this is my regular garden. And my walking onions are still growing, and let's see, I've got more mint growing here. Orange mint here. I can't remember this one. I think it's peppermint. I get that mixed up sometimes with chocolate mint because I'm doing cuttings all over. I don't want to lose it. Look at the walking onion. See? Still walking. This one's walking here. Must be warm near here, so it's walking still. A lot of them are done walking. And then, of course, tomatoes. Oh, my goodness. Look at the tomatoes growing through here. If all goes well, we will have tomatoes all winter. So we'll see what happens. You never know. If we get hit with a frost, and sometimes we do here too, it could, you know, make a setback. So we'll see. But I think these are the brown berry tomatoes that I planted. There's a tab back there. I'm trying to see if I can see it. Yep, it is the brown berries. So we'll see what happens. All right, so I've got some collard. This is just regular collard, came up from here, from what I grow in the garden. Yes, I know I got to groom my garden. It all takes time, and I do it. I do a little bit in the morning, and I do a lot at night after I'm watering, and I don't have to water every day. It hasn't been quite as hot for as intense and dry, so I haven't had to water, but they keep saying we're going to warm up again. And then here's my Thai basil that came up from seed. Isn't that funny? At first I thought it was mint. It just started wiggling its way up, and I thought, gee, that's a strange looking mint growing up. Then Gary said, no, that's your Thai basil. You must have had some seeds fly over there. papaya coming up in that pot. Probably will leave that. They came up from the compost. And then I've got on the bottom there, I don't know if you can see it right there. That's the cutting I did off the mushroom plant, and I put it in that soup container, and I just stuck it there in the ground. I covered it so the rabbits and nothing will eat it. And I'm going to water it, and I'll decide later where I'm going to plant it. But for now, I don't have to really mess with it. Just leave it underneath that trash basket and let it do its thing. Of course, my dinosaur kale, my curly kale, all growing the field. That thing is monstrous. 3 years old, going strong, and now that the weather's changing, look how big the leaves are. They're getting bigger and bigger. So as we cool down, the leaves get bigger and sweeter. And if you go back to some of my older videos, you'll see how bad this looked. Look how beautiful the leaves are now. I think I showed you, it looked like something had just eaten it away. All the leaves were eaten, and that was the birds. The birds came in here and they would sit right on the top, and they would eat all the new little leaves coming in. And once they damage them and they would eat little holes, it would come out and grow that way because it can't heal. A leaf, once it's damaged, these teeny leaves cannot heal, but they'll continue to grow, and then you'll end up with leaves with holes or missing pieces, but the leaf grows. I mean, it doesn't hurt anything. I use it all the time. I use it in our food. I use it in my green drink. Doesn't bother me at all. The yellow leaves, of course, like what's on there, that's going to get either composted, compost tea, but never thrown away. Popolo, look at that. It's getting ready to go to seed. This one's not that tall. It's about 3 foot tall. They can get 6, 7 feet tall, but that's good. That's perfect height. I don't even want to touch this. Be careful when you grow popolo. My son-in-law was here and he tasted it, and it was great. He loves it. It's like cilantro, but the problem was he couldn't taste anything else in the garden, he said. Because once he ate this, it's so intense. He was trying different things and everything tastes like popolo, so keep that in mind. I personally am not a big popolo lover because it's so intense. Gary absolutely loves it. I can add one leaf to a salad I'm making. Let's say if I'm making tacos or something, to add on your tacos, and the whole salad tastes like popolo. So if you like it, then you can add in all you want. If you don't like it, taste it first before you try it. Let's swing around. Yeah, my poor tomatillo that's got to come out, but look at that. These are all going to be new tomatillos in the spring. Of course, I should collect them and not let them fall to the ground. And then, of course, celery. I have celery come up everywhere from seed. I can't stop it. Green sorrel on the bottom. There's my strawberry spinach. Oops, sorry. There's my strawberry spinach. And then more celery. Another little popolo came up there. It came up from seed in the pot, see? So it sent, this thing is, see, you can't move it. It's the roots have gone into this. And that's what happens when you have stuff in pots. They don't mind. It just, there's not that much soil, and it just came up recently, and so it's not going to get really big, and that's big enough. Oh, there's those wonderful Thai peppers. And then, of course, look, I've got walking onion back here in a can, in a soup can, because I didn't want to lose the walking onions, so I stuck them in a soup can just to keep track of them, and I can move them later. There's holes on the bottom. I took a nail and a hammer and made a bunch of holes. Celery, and then, of course, this thing that I put strawberries in that my daughter got me. And then I've got a bean coming up. I've been sticking beans everywhere. Oh, my lemon verbena. I love this plant. This is another one that's going to die back soon. See, it's starting to turn yellow. In the fall, go into the winter, it will die back. Tip, if you go to the nursery and they're selling lemon verbena, bring it up to the counter and say, look, what are you going to give me this plant for? Can you do a deal on it? And they'll sell it to you sometimes dirt cheap, half price or less, because they want to get rid of them because they look like they're dead. But they're not. They just go dormant. That's what I did. They sold it to me for half price, and I had a whole bunch of them, and they were cheap, and they came back beautiful in the spring. There's my mushroom plant. Now, I'm not sure. It's supposed to be a perennial, and it's supposed to keep going, so we'll see if it thins down as the weather gets cooler. I don't know. So this we'll learn together. Because last year, I think it kept growing. I don't think it died down at all. It's got a lot of yellow leaves, but it might just need to be groomed. And here's the other mushroom plant, see? Probably just needs to be groomed. And then, of course, I've got some peppers growing everywhere, bell peppers. And there's more walking onions in there. There's my sprouting broccoli, a small one. I had this one on my deck. And then I pulled it out, put it in here because it was stunted. It was a really small, stunted plant, and it's doing quite well in the containers in which I compost in place. That's a little sparse looking dinosaur kale. Stuck a piece of stick in there and it just has been going up and up. See the tool? I wrapped some tool around here, see? And that's masking tape. I did this months ago because I wasn't sure what was eating this. I wasn't sure if it was birds or what. I think that one had a snail or slug problem. So they were crawling up at night. I haven't seen any lately, but the birds might have gotten them, or the lizards or whatever. But they were crawling up, I think, the stem. That's what I was suspecting. So I put the tool there, and whatever was eating that stopped. It just didn't look like bird. It looked a little differently. That's why the pattern on the leaf was different. I thought, I don't think that's birds. Because the birds, yes, they can fly up against the house, which they do, but they tend to want to stay more in the actual garden. So it worked out very, very well. Oh, they're coming back. I want you to see this. Now, what is that? He's trying. They can't get the hummingbird food, the hummingbird nectar I put in there, the sugar water. But the thing is, yesterday I had that hole open and I melted one hole on that feeder bigger because when spring comes, the orioles are all over here and they're trying to get in because they need to feed their babies. Well, they found it for the past 2 days and they were just going into the hole. I'm going to move away before they get furious with me. But anyways, today I took that down last night because of course there were no bees around, washed it really good, and of course they've been told to come back and get some more sugar water. They're going to try, but eventually they're going to leave because this particular hummingbird feeder has the bee guards, which are those yellow flowers. They can't get to it. But with the hole there, the open hole, which I put masking tape over this morning, now they cannot get into it at all. Before they could, so they would go to the big hole. So they're checking it out, and what they'll do is they'll end up going back to the hive and saying, hey, you know, that flower yesterday we were getting all that stuff from, it's not working today. And they'll go somewhere else. But they're checking it out because it's early and they're just coming in now to check things out. Yes, I know the masking tape's not going to last forever, but it's just long enough there on the plastic. Oh, I've got to be on my head. No. Okay, it's just there long enough so they will get the message that there's no more food there for them. If they don't get the message, I'll move that feeder. So we'll see what happens in the next day or so. All right, so back there I've got more lemon verbena. I'm not stepping back there right now because there are angry bees looking for their food. And another lemon verbena back there. And of course I've got this tomato that Gary loves. He calls it San Marzo? Marzo? I don't know. There's a name for it. I think it's called S-A-N, and then it's M-A-R-Z-A-N-O. And it's just a special tomato that I had bought at the nursery. And look how they grow. We've been eating these. These are really cool. Look at that. I'm guessing that they probably, I think they're an heirloom and they're a regular tomato, but I'm going to end up taking cuttings off of this tomato. This tomato plant is doing so well. Look how big it's getting. That I would be better off to take cuttings. Now let me warn you on the cuttings. Sometimes when I've done cuttings, they don't grow really vigorously at first. So don't be nervous about that. Do your cuttings and let them just do its thing. Because what they have to do is they have to create a lot of roots. Once they get their root system going in a pot, then they'll take off. So it might hamper them a little bit compared to when you plant a seed. And when you plant a seed, what is the first thing they do? They set root, and then they send up their green shoot. So this way it's backwards. They've already got some of their green shoot, and then they have to create roots. So it will look like it's doing nothing. It could even sit for 2 months, look like it's doing nothing. Because you're planting something, let's say that big, it's going to take time for a cutting to create roots that are as big as it is. Because usually what you see on top many times is what they have in the ground. So don't be discouraged on that. As long as it's green, it hasn't dried out and turned brown and flipped over, and you know, you're good. So I'm going to do cuttings on that tomato, and then I'm going to be doing cuttings on my midnight snack. I want to concentrate on things that do good in my garden. Yes, I'm going to buy all kinds of stuff and try different things. I already ordered some leeks and a different type of carrots. I'm going to try a couple different carrots for here. But when it does good here, I want that plant to stay here. And I've noticed that plants that I'm pulling the seeds off of that are growing in my garden will just flourish, just take off and grow really, really good, like the beans. The beans that are growing in my garden that are setting seed are doing really, really good. So that's what I want to do with this. That tomato plant is doing so well. I want cuttings off of that tomato plant. I probably will try some seeds off the tomato as well, but right now I know that that plant's doing good. I want to get some cuttings. That's the strawberry tower that I did nothing with this year. We'll see if I do something in the spring. And then of course on the ground, this is orange mint. And as you can see, it is starting to look sparse. It's going to die back. Mint gets really sparse here in the winter. So I'm sure if you're in snow, it's just going to just disappear, but it will come back from the roots. Here, it's going to have few leaves. They're going to be little leaves. It's going to, instead of big, nice leaves, they're going to be really tiny, but that's okay. There's my strawberry mint. That's gone to seed. We do not eat that. We do not drink that. The orange mint, I put in, let's say, omelets and stuff. But the strawberry mint, nothing. I don't know. I had a couple plants. I gave one to my friend. He likes the smell. Good. More power to him. It doesn't taste good. It smells beautiful, but oh, that tastes awful. Oh, there's my purple sprouting broccoli back there. Look how big that thing is getting with the big leaves. Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit. I have yet to see one purple anything on there. Some of the leaves, the stems have had a little bit of purple tinge to them, but it looks like a big color plant. But I will say it's not a total loss. Let me step over there real quick. Look how big those leaves are. I am making a nude green drink. I'm using a different handle on my camera, and I'm trying to see if this is better or worse. So we'll see what happens with this. That's why it might shake once in a while. I'm making a new green drink that is, not that I'm not doing the old one, I am, but it's just simpler. And so these leaves work perfect. So it's not a loss just because I'm not getting any broccoli heads on it, except I wanted to see purple broccoli on it. But as far as the plant, I know the green leaves are so nutritious, so it's going to be perfectly fine. And so right now, all is good. Here is my field of sprouting broccoli. Not only does it go back there, it goes behind the fence. Look at that. Gary hangs around back there and he picks sprouting broccoli all over and eats it all day. And look at this. I would grab it right now and eat it, but I'll wait. I'll come back to get that one. But this is just amazing. This plant too has got to be at least 3 years old. So this is really going good. That's what the guy said to Gary that came over the other day. He has that farm to table and he was like amazed. Look at all your kale and stuff. Gary told him he's got a farm. Yeah, my wife leaves everything. Some of this stuff is like 3 years old. It's going to be going into 4 years next year. And they don't do that. On the farm, they pull everything out. See, I know these plants have set root, and they're pulling all the nutrients out of the ground. Why would I want to take it all out and start over? That's like extra work that I don't need. And I like it this way. And, you know, there's times it doesn't look so great, but look at the leaves now. Look how the leaves are changing with the cooler weather. These leaves are going to be huge. Look how big they are for broccoli. See, they're going to go from teeny little leaves that they were all summer because these plants really don't like the heat that well. And they're turning now as the weather's cooling, you know, at night. The nights are a little cooler. Look how big the leaves are getting, all of them. And again, I juice those leaves. I juice them in the old way I've done it. I juice it in the new way. We eat them. We make stir fry, chop them up for salad. I use those leaves. So I am not pulling anything out that looks good. Even this collard plant here. This particular collard plant, I think with a couple others, and that's kind of bent around. Look how it's bent around. That's also 2 years going on 3. I bought that at the dollar store. I went in one day and they had these little containers and there were like 4 collard plants in a container. And I separated them and stuck them in pots and all over, and they're massive. Why would I pull this out? So this one I bought. Like I said, I bought this at the dollar store, and they're doing great. absolutely great. Again, I've got mint on the bottom, more mint there, and this is chocolate mint. That's regular. That's also chocolate mint back here next to my fountain. A lot of the fountains aren't working because it's cloudy right now, and then the orange mint and different things growing. But this is what I wanted to point out. I'm just walking and I don't want to come back, so that's why I'm talking. Why would I pull this out and start over? I mean, it's perfectly fine. I'm not telling anybody not to do it. You know, if that's your thing, do it. Absolutely do it. But it's not my thing. My thing is I want a garden. I want to have food. And if it's established, it's staying. They periodically go to seed. And notice that I do have the collard next to the sprouting broccoli. And here is its baby. I want to show you that. See how dark these leaves are? See the shape of them? This is a cross between a sprouting broccoli and the collard. Isn't that cool? So it's edible. We're eating it. My son-in-law came over. I think I showed this on the last video, but it might look different, so it might be good if you wanted to compare. He asked if he could pick collard, and I said, yeah, I'll just let you know some of it's crossed, but it's still good. It tastes really good. And he did, and he just chopped it. Kind of haphazardly chopped it, but that was good. Look what this has done, which it wasn't doing before. Look at all the side shoots. I could actually cut this off and create new plants or leave it. Somebody asked me, see all the side shoots? It was all bare in the last video 2 weeks ago. Somebody asked me, they can't get their kale to side shoot. They've got a kale like this one. This is the purple dazzling blue, actually. See, there's no side shoots on that. I could force this in the side shooting. I'm not going to do it, but if you deadheaded it and you cut off and pinched the top and didn't let new growth come, it would side shoot. It's going to side shoot on its own at some point anyways, I have found out. The older it gets, it will start to side shoot. So I wouldn't worry about it. Just use from the top, but if you're really adamant on wanting it to side shoot, then try to take out the center and then it might side shoot. That's if you really, really want to do it. Look, all this, more sprouting broccoli. Now, they could be hybrids, but this one is growing actual nice broccoli heads all through here. So this is really, really fun. And another collard that came up from seed. And then, of course, more dazzling blue kale. Let's see what, and this is the garlic chives. I've got to collect these seeds. I mean, they'll fall and they grow all over in the ground, in my containers, but I really, really need to collect them. Now, I wouldn't collect them right now, and the reason is it's kind of damp, and we're kind of overcast, and I would rather collect them when the sun gets really bright and it's dry, really, really dry. Just cut the heads off, put them in a container, any container, and just seal it up and put it away. Just put a lid on the container. That's what I'm going to do later. I've been telling myself that all week. So maybe I will, since I told you now, maybe I will make a point of doing it. Okay, let's swing over here. Again, another one of those hybrids. It came up from the seed in here. It's half collard and half broccoli. This is my pepino. I was having a problem. We picked all the fruit except we left a couple and something got to it and ate it. And it started chewing up the plant. So see, I put tulle down there. Yes, that's an avocado tree. I put tulle down there and it worked. It worked perfect. They're gone. And it's actually, I didn't see this. Look at that. It's setting fruit again. So that's really good. But it was really distressed a week ago because I don't know if it was a rat or a rabbit or a squirrel, but they really chewed the dickens out of it. See, you can even see the branches down here. But now that I've got the tulle, they won't chew on it. A lot of people have asked me, will it work for rats? You know what? The tulle works really good on rats. The reason is, see, this is kind of stiff. If a rat touches this, they're smart. They're one of the smartest animals. They touch this, get their nails stuck in that, they're out of here. They're thinking, oh, this person set a trap for me. As far as they're concerned, that's a trap, which means they're going to go find someplace else. And they'll just leave. Now they'll leave this whole container alone. Now they'll leave this whole container alone because they think it's a trap. So with rats, that's really good. A rabbit would come, touch the tulle, and then say, oh, I can't eat that. Maybe I'll eat the other one next to it. But a rat will leave. And look at there's some more baby collards, probably hybrids coming in down there. All right, let's swing around. Okay, so we're back here. I've got oregano growing in that pot. I know I always miss things all the time. It's like there's turnips or something growing in there. I don't know. And then the curry plant I bought, I have yet to use that. It's getting bigger and bigger. It looks like rosemary. I bought it just because it's different. Yeah, sometimes when I go to the nursery, if I have some downtime, I'll just kind of walk around the nursery. And if I see something completely different I don't have, I'll spend $3, $4. And they had a curry plant, and I thought Gary would like it. Oh, he'll eat it. I mean, I'm doing most of the cooking, and so he'll eat it if I put it in his food. I just haven't bothered. Not for any particular reason. But I like the plant. I've got the plant, so I can use it anytime I want. This is that tomato plant that's what? 2+ years old. It needs well grooming, which I'll do soon. We've been picking lots of tomatoes off. Oh, no tool on that one. If I don't get that one soon, it will disappear. But I'm going to wait, let it finish its cycle with the tomatoes, and then I will trim it up, clean it up, restake it, because look at the masking tape I use. Can you imagine? This masking tape is probably from February. Yeah, some of it's going to let loose. Look back there, because the plant grew and it pulls it off. Of course it's going to fall off, but you know what? Masking tapes last longer usually than the plants do, so it works really good. Look at the green tape back there. Put that on months and months ago. Yeah, some of it will come off. It's okay. People have come back and said, oh, I can't use masking tape. It's not going to hold. Well, first of all, I disagree. I think it will hold. But, just because I disagree doesn't mean I'm right. Keep that in mind. The thing is, it's so easy to put masking tape on and stake up plants. Then if you want, look, even me, go back with a piece of wire. After you have it all taped up in the way you want and the direction you want the plant to grow, if you think it's thick and heavy and it's going to pull, go back with a piece of wire on top afterwards. You need 3 hands to put wire on most of the time. You only need 2 hands to put masking tape. I keep the roll on my wrist and I work, and it's so easy. And then if there's a couple areas, put some wire, put some string, put some yarn, put your clips if you're buying plastic clips. I don't like those. Those do break down really fast, but if you're using that, that's fine. Pipe cleaner, whatever you want. You don't have to rely just on the masking tape, but it's the way to get it set up the way you want, and then go back in certain areas. Because generally, once you mask the plant up, the plant will go in the direction that you put it. You know, it's going to go that way. You're pulling something up, and then the plant will strengthen and start growing up. So it doesn't really fight the masking tape. It starts to grow with the masking tape. It works really good. It's my favorite thing. I love my masking tape. Okay, let's swing around. Okay, this Swiss chard came up in this pot on its own. I've got walking onions back there, and I don't know, turnip or something. I really got to pick that. I don't think it's a radish. It's either a turnip or a beet. Something I threw in there, and there's one back there too. Let's see. They've got midnight snack. See? Is that the midnight snack? No, this one is the Japanese olive tomato. Okay, so I've got both in here. I know there's a midnight snack in there too. Yeah, see? That's turned out to be one of my favorites. Oh, that's right. This one didn't do as well. And that one was called olive-shaped tomato, Japanese. It didn't do as well, and so I'm not going to mess with it next spring. But I will keep the midnight snacks going, because look at that in here. It just grows like a weed. It just goes and goes and goes. So for me, I'm going to keep those. And the little ones called brown berries. Those grew really good. This container, I really haven't taken care of it a lot. This I know is a hybrid, but it's doing really good. It's a broccoli-colored hybrid. And I've got to trim that up, clean it up. See, that's that turnip thing that went to seed. That's what these flowers are, and these seed pods. That's from the turnip or whatever. So I don't know if I'll collect the seeds. I might. And then I've got a little collar that came up in the celery. And see back here? So I don't have to do anything. I put a cutting of a tomato a couple weeks ago. And see, it's going to stay it's trying to grow flowers. Should pinch it really. It's going to stay semi-dormant until it sets root. I believe this is midnight. really need to label it. Take advice from somebody that doesn't know what they're doing, me. I'm always thinking I'm going to remember what I put somewhere, and then I can't remember. Label it. Even if you write it on a piece of paper, a book, pin it to your refrigerator, you know, put a magnet on your refrigerator and say, I put in that pot some midnight snack. Walk in the house and do it then, because I find out a week later, I come back, it's like, is this midnight snack or is it the other tomato I wanted? So take the advice from me, write it down. But whatever it is, it doesn't matter. Obviously, I wanted it. So, but see, I put the pot in here. So I watered this, which it waters this upside down container, which it waters this turnip thing. And I don't have to do anything special but leave it. I can leave it there all winter. This wall stays warm, so especially at night, and it's going to help this plant stay here all winter, and then I can move it, I can lift the pot, I can do what I want, or take cuttings off of it if it takes off. So a lot of different things. All right, let's keep going. On the ground here, of course, is Gary's favorite, the spearmint. Now, as you can see on the spearmint, the leaves are even getting smaller. It's kind of getting, I don't even know if the word is leggy, but it's starting to change. So it's going to die back a little bit as winter comes on. I know we're just in the fall, but it's going to change. I can see the change already. Of course, we are still making our tea. I really need to freeze some because I'm going to forget. I have some frozen, and I left it in the freezer for over a month, and I pulled it out the other day to try it. It was perfect. You would never know it was frozen. So I need to get more frozen because the leaves will change. They're turning a little yellow, they're getting sparse, and then I'll be out here on my hands and knees trying to find enough leaves to make tea. So I really need to get my act together. Take a tip again. Do it now. Do when you have a little time, even at night. If you've got mint, wash a bunch of leaves, strip them down, put it in a plastic bag, label it so you don't go back later wondering what it was, and throw it in the freezer. And then you can just take it out, blend it up, make your tea. So I'm going to have to do something because I know I'm going to end up losing that. I'm going to lose my stevia soon. I won't have that. All right. That is a field of collard. Look at that. It's just growing so beautiful. Look at the color. I don't even know why it's growing so good back there. I can barely get back there. And then, of course, I've got a tree collard next to it, too. See the different leaves? But that one there is a tree collard. And that is a regular collard. So that's doing really, really well. But it's just growing beautiful back there, and that's just amazing because I don't know what's making it grow so good there. It might be whatever is coming out of here because these old containers have holes, so it might be draining on that end when I water here, and then it might be watering there, and plus they must send their roots under containers. So by doing that, it's just growing like a field back there. Look at that. I mean, it's amazing. I asked Gary, by any chance, is there a pipe under there that could be leaking? And he said, no, there's no water pipe there. There's nothing there. So that big collard plant must have sent the roots under this white container. And then it's always got enough water and it's feeding whatever it wants under there. And this is what I've been trying to explain to people. If you've got land, let's say a backyard that is terrible, you can set up some containers of any size. Throw your leaves in there, throw your kitchen scraps, compost in place. As you do that, you'll be able to also, if you wanted to, plant around your container because the soil is going to change even around the container. You could do that on a big farm. You could do that anywhere. I mean, I know big farms aren't going to want to bother with that, but you could do that anywhere because it changes. So why do you think the mint is doing so good here? Because it's feeding off these containers because the ground around these containers change. So it's just amazing to watch nature do its own thing. But I do have to clean this all up. This is celery that's gone to seed. And I go to pull it out. And then I know that the little bush tits and all these little seed eaters come in, the goldfinches. So I'm leaving them right now. It's not causing any damage. So I'm just leaving it. Look at that purple kale. Look at that. It's gotten so big. I'm staking it up very poorly. I have not done a good job, and I really need to get back in there and do it better. And that's growing in this thing in a pot. That's a 3-tier. So it's got the container here growing. Let me step back. So you got the container here, and then I've got 3 pots. I've got a bigger pot, a medium pot, and a smaller pot, and I planted in all 3 pots. It's like it's tiered. And it came up in the center. It was a small little tiny plant I put in there. It might have even been an offshoot from something, and it just got massive. And of course, the roots have gone all through all 3 pots into this container. And it's growing there with my eggplant. Look at the eggplant. Look at that. This was full. I finally got all my yellow eggplant off. And I left it here, and I was going to compost it, and I didn't. Periodically, the squirrels or rats or whatever were coming and putting it on the ground and eating their eggplant. So I left it again, which I should have known from the first time it caused problems. Well, I now know who's taking bites out of my eggplant. Look at that. I caught him. It is a big tree squirrel. He was here 2 days ago. I come out here and he's looking at me like, leave me alone, I'm eating. I thought, you have got to be kidding me. It's a tree squirrel. So he found out, now why does he want to eat yellow bitter eggplant when there's beautiful purple eggplant? I chased him off. I haven't really seen him because he hasn't really done any damage. He took 1 purple eggplant and ate it. I don't know if it's back there. Let me see if it's still back there. I can't get back. No, he ate it. It was back there. He left it back there and he ate it. So I've been putting some of these cages around it, and these wire things I've got, and I should just wrap tulle around it. But I've been actually picking them and cooking them. But it's full. It's just full eggplant. There's 2 plants. There's one in here and there's one in there. That one was growing on my deck and it was really tiny. So I moved it in here in a pot and put it in the container, left it in the pot, and it just took off. So it's a big, massive plant too. So that's doing really good. Let's see. Let me step over. Let's swing around. Not much going on here. I've got my walking onions that I kind of shoved in there to keep track of them, and now these babies have turned into bigger onions, which you have already seen, and they're still walking, probably because the wall is warm. So they think it's still summer. And then, of course, the celery that came up from seed, and then there's some green Swiss chard, there's parsley back there, more walking onions, garlic chives on the bottom, and sage growing. That's pretty much it. This is sweet potato that came up from my compost in place. I left it. There are sweet potatoes in there. I've seen it. So maybe I'll dig some sweet potatoes up soon one day. More walking onions and beans. Beans everywhere are growing as well. I picked the seeds off. See the pods I leave because I've been bad and not cooking enough of these. Look at the beans. Oh my gosh. See the seeds? I didn't even know. This is open. This is why they're coming up everywhere. But I'm going to tell you something. These things just want to grow. And because they grew here and they're happy here, they're popping open and they fall, they just take off and grow. I can stick them anywhere. So they really like the climate here. And that's why you want to grow what likes your yard. This squash plant is done. And I keep wanting to cut it out, but it's trying again. So we will see. I'm leaving it right now in case I need a male flower for something, because I've got some squash in the front yard, and if there's no male flower and there's a female, I can come grab a flower off that, because you can cross-pollinate them to get fruit. Beans, I had to put a trash basket over there because the first ones came up and the rabbits ate them down, and yet they didn't touch the one in the mint. That's chocolate mint back there, so I don't know, but I put a trash basket, one of those you get from the dollar store, and now they're growing, and that would be fine if they wanted to go through the basket. At least I know nothing's going to touch the roots. Oh, here I'm making some compost tea. It's real simple. That's it. This will be ready in 2 or 3 days, and just water my plants with it. Just leaves from the garden, put a stick in there. I don't know where a stick is right now, and push it in there and let it be. Look at that, chocolate mint coming through the bottom. See the container, this is what I was saying. Okay, my container's got holes about 1.5 inches from the bottom. See where it's coming down? That soil is going to change. This was hard clay. And yes, there's wood chips on top, but that soil is going to change strictly because of the water coming out of this container. And now you've got chocolate mint growing down there. And this is why I said you can set containers up in your yard, and you can plant, after you have them set up, you can start to plant where your holes are too. So when you water in that container, and if you overwater, which I do a lot, they'll leach out, of course, the water, and it will feed around there, and you'll get all kinds of microbes and earthworms and everything will start to develop around the containers, and you can plant in the ground right next to it. You have nothing to lose. Try it. So you can have multi-purposes going on with these containers. I love these containers. Somebody asked me a question, how long do the containers last? I've got one on the other side of the yard, we passed it already, that looks very similar to this one, and I think I have a lot of them that are about 3 years old. Containers are basically plastic, oil, okay? If they're kept damp, if you've got soil in them, you know what, I'll keep walking while I talk. Then the containers will keep going. You will have them for many, many, many years. Containers that are left out in the sun, empty, will become dry. It's like our skin. Will become dry and brittle. And they'll crack. But when you're using them and they're in the garden and you're hitting them with water and they've got soil in them, it's like putting face cream on or something. It keeps them soft so they don't crack. It's kind of like your pots. You take a black pot, leave an empty black pot in the middle of your yard in the sun for a year or two. You go pick it up, it's going to shatter. But when you've got plants in there, they'll go for many, many years because it's holding the water, and so it's not drying out. So all containers are different. I will say that the opaque ones, the ones that are clear, the ones that you can see through, they don't seem to last as long, and they might only last a couple years. I look for the solid plastic containers like these. And this thing will probably last for 4 or 5 years, might go longer. The ones I have found that are split, those are containers that people have thrown away and they had it sitting in their yard with maybe some kids' toys in it or something, and they're kind of brittle and they will crack. But you know, they've been sitting somewhere for years, especially in the sun, and they're already breaking down. But look at this. I mean, they're just going to keep on going. This is that tower I did a video on, and I've got purple sprouting broccoli. Yet to see any purple sprouting broccoli. Look at that. The plant looks good, which is perfectly fine. But that's purple sprouting broccoli, and then I've got these, I forgot the name of these tomatoes, but look at them. Look at the shape of them. My daughter picked one, and she said, look at this. She said, look at the shape of them. Do you know your tomatoes are shaped odd? I said, yeah, I bought them like that. Oh my gosh, they're so good. This is rude of me. I'm eating. I love my masking tape. Okay, give me a minute. Shouldn't have done that. I love my masking tape. You know, she didn't know there were so many different shapes of tomatoes, and that one's doing really good. Even if that is a pure tomato, let's say it's an heirloom tomato, it's an old variety, it's been around for hundreds and hundreds of years, those seeds may not be, because I have so many different types of tomatoes in the yard that they will cross-pollinate with the bees. The best way to get that tomato, again, like the others, would be to do cuttings off of it. And I probably will do that too, because it is doing really good. It even goes behind the container. It's all over the ground. It's like a weed. And there's my purple basil. Oh, Gary loves the purple basil. Oh, and look at this tree colored. It was so tiny. It's getting bigger and bigger, and it's got a lot of side shoots. This is also a hybrid, I've been told. So in order, I haven't even seen it go to seed. Look at that. So what you do with something like that is you cut off the side shoots, you root those, and you grow those, and then you get the same plant. You're cloning the plant. So I'm going to do a lot of that. That is just gorgeous. That is in a pot. The pot is about 2 inches in the ground, and that plant has left the room. That plant has left the pot. And so its roots are in the ground now, and it's doing its thing, and it's just going to keep getting taller and taller, and I'm going to have to find a really tall stick so I don't lose it in a windstorm or something. But look how big that is, and look at the trunk on it. Is that amazing? Even the purple one is kind of getting leggy, and it keeps going up. But it's starting to do some side shoots, the purple curly kale, so I'll see what happens with that. But they do so good. So if you've got a plant doing really good in a pot and you're afraid to transplant it, because, you know, you pull plants out of pots, they go into shock usually, and they may lose some of their leaves or something. You don't have to pull it out of the pot. If it's especially vegetable, you know what, forget it, any plant. we've got a, what is it, a carrot wood that was in a teeny pot, half the size of these black ones. A little tiny carrot wood, which is now what, 30, 40 feet tall on the other side of the yard, that broke the pot and left. Plants will leave their pots. But if you've got something doing really, really well in a pot that you bought from the nursery and you're afraid to transplant it, take something if you want and break the pot, just on the bottom. Break some of the holes open. If the holes are really tiny, just break it open a little bit and stick it in the ground. And it will leave as long as those feeder roots can get to the ground. Remember, the reason plants don't do well when they're in small pots is because when they are trying to leave the pot and they're sitting on cement, they're air pruning. Their roots come out of the pot and then they just die because they're touching the air. But when they touch the ground and it's damp and the soil is good, they'll keep going. They'll send, because they're feeding off the feeder roots. And that's what they're using to feed them, you know, the whole plant. So they can just be in the pot and just leave because their feeder roots are in the ground. Yeah, that's my big collared plant. This was in a pot. That's a good example. Let me show you. This giant, I'm hoping you can see it. Let me see if I can. See the pot down there? It broke the pot. Literally broke the pot. It's massive, absolutely massive, this plant. Look at the size of this thing. It has just taken off everywhere. I should have stopped on this. Look at this. It's all over the ground. You know, Gary moved my swing here and he said, "You want me to take the collard out?" And I said, "No, this is the one from the dollar store I bought. It was that big when I bought it." I said, "No, it broke the pot, it left, it's in the ground." It went straight into the ground and it turned into this massive, massive plant. And the birds love it and they hide in it. It's their security. We use the leaves and the green drink. I've made collard chips out of it. There's so many different things you can do with it. Put it in stir fry. Why would I want to kill a plant that's doing so well? That plant is big and healthy, which means it's going to make, hopefully, me healthy or keep me healthy. And well, I don't know why I would want to take something out that's doing well. Does it get powdery mildew? Yes, look at that. And why does it get powdery mildew? Because I water at night. It's not the time you're supposed to water. Believe you me, I know, but I'm so busy in the morning. So I water at night, gets a little powdery mildew. And the leaves that are really bad, I just pull those off and compost it. Collard is the best compost, along with banana peels. It's just so good. So I compost the bad leaves and we eat the good leaves, and I just love that plant. I would have no reason to pull that out. So I said, no, I will walk around the plant every time I have to go down here. If I break a leaf, in the compost the leaf goes, or we'll eat it. But it's just so cool. But see the leaves, how different they are smooth and soft here. Isn't that cool? Now look at this one. These are stiffer and curly. Isn't that cool? But these are sweeter. The collard tree is a sweeter tree, so I like them both. They're both really, really cool, but that has long left that pot, and it is in the ground. It's a beautiful, and look at the sun is coming out, and now my water fountain is starting to go. The solar one. I don't even know where I put the panel. It's somewhere around here. Oh, there it is. It's over there. Isn't that funny? Got all kinds of different ways I put the solar panels down there. So, no, I'm not going to pull it out, and I'm going to be honest, my camera shut off midway through, so I'm not even sure where I'm supposed to be over here. I just noticed it. I thought I was doing better than that. Okay, red Swiss chard seed, the seeds. These are seeds. Now, with this, it's interesting. Each one of those pods are actually full of a bunch of different seeds in there. So when you throw this down, that's why you may throw one seed and then find out, gee, why is a whole bunch of Swiss chard growing? Because these are pods, and it's got more than one seed. This is not one seed. And I'm going to toss it in there. Okay, now let me back up. This is the papaya trees. I know they're not trees. You don't have to correct me. I just call them that. But these are the papaya plants that came and grew out of my compost in place containers here. And I just can't believe how big they are. They're so young, these trees. Let me get you up here and see the fruit. Look at that. These trees are like 8 feet tall. This is amazing. And this one's got fruit too and flowers. It's unreal. It's even throwing side shoots. So I don't know how this will grow. If we'll end up with papayas on the bottom growing as well, this will be different. As you can see, there's a few that are a little bit bigger. You see, there's two other trees. I don't think these will make it. The two big ones will. But what I did was and I've got peppers in there too. What I did was I flooded the container, and then I actually just grabbed it and pulled it out. I pulled one out, a small one, and I'll show you where I planted it, and it's growing. So I'm probably going to yank a few more of those out and start moving them around the yard, and we'll see how that grows. Let's see over here. Haven't really done much with these containers. I mean, yeah, I threw kitchen scraps and stuff in them, but I've got a dinosaur kale growing there, and then I've got some purple kale, bottom some of the red Swiss chard, which we could see the rabbit did feast on last night, celery, flat leaf parsley, and see this dinosaur kale, I think it got nabbed on the top. It got chewed up or something happened to it, broke, and so it's sending out a bunch of side shoots. I haven't really done anything. I should trim it up, clean it up, and throw some more kitchen scraps in there maybe, because I haven't touched that in probably a year. I don't know why. I just haven't done anything with it. Maybe because it's this side of the yard. I don't know. Then in my moringa tree, this is the one, you've seen it. It was chewed to the ground. It's doing okay up against the house. Look at the soil. That's our soil. Just clay. Kind of just clay. But when you have the wood chips or leaves on top, it really changes it. Here's another, and that's the garlic chives. Just came up from seed. Here's another container. Haven't really done much. I started this towards the end of summer because I'm thinking of growing something in there later. That was squash seeds that got in there, and they're trying to grow. But the problem is we're really at the end of the season. So I don't think any of these will grow, and that's fine. We'll just be composted back in and get something good in the spring in there. And that's a tomato cutting that I just stuck in there. So if it makes it, it makes it. If it doesn't, it doesn't. This tomato cutting could sit here all winter, and then all of a sudden this spring just take off. I've had that happen. That works out really good. Let me swing you around. And there's my strawberry tower. Really didn't do much with it this year. See, I didn't even plant in it. So we'll see what happens if I can get to it in the spring. And then of course I've got my Korean melon, which is pretty much done. The vine is still here. We've been pulling Korean melons off, but it kind of mined in there into the tomatoes. And then garlic chives are growing, more garlic chives in the back, more purple kale back there in one of my containers. I'll fix that up in the spring and plant more later or whenever. Didn't do anything with the tower back there either. I've got some lettuce actually growing in there. Never did anything with this container here. That collard plant you see, this massive collard plant, is all coming out of that broken pot. It's growing like a weed. Now keep in mind, back there, that's the 3 tower I did on containers, where you can stack containers and compost in place, which means that when you water, that is leaching into the ground, and it's just feeding this collard plant more and more and more. And see, some of the leaves have powdery mildew because I water at night. My fault. When you water at night, it stays damp, then the sun comes out and it just grows mildew on it. Those are perfect leaves for composting. I'll just take from the center where it doesn't have powdery mildew. I don't worry about powdery mildew because I know I'm creating it by the way I water at night, but those leaves make the best compost. If I didn't water at night and I watered in the morning, there's a tip. You most likely will not end up with powdery mildew because it will dry off the leaves before the evening comes and it won't grow it. All right, I didn't do anything with that container either. And then back here, I don't think I did much with anything back there. I started setting them up because I've got so much. I have to figure out what I want to do. So I started setting them up. This is the one the Korean melon grew in. See, and we've already pulled the Korean melons off. I've even got celery growing in here. Look at this. It grew in this tower. It grows everywhere. So we'll see what I'm going to do later. The other problem is, whoops, this moringa tree has shaded this area. I love the moringa tree. I never thought I'd ever grow one. But it shaded the area so when my tomatillos came up, which are back there and the plant is dying, it's growing in with the moringa, they need sun, like tomatoes need sun. And so I never got any tomatillos back here. So this area now is going to be very different. I've created a different microclimate back here because now in the summer it's shaded and warm. So for some plants it will not be good. Strawberries might be fine, certain things might be fine. Papaya, of course, are fine because they're growing up. See, it's forcing them to try to get as tall as they can and get past the moringa tree. So when you create things like this, you're creating a microclimate. So I've got a microclimate going on in this part of the yard where I may not be able to grow squash. Probably not. I'll have to figure out something a little bit more, maybe that likes shade. Maybe in the summer put some more mushroom plants back here because they'll get some sun, but they'll have a lot of shade and they probably would do really good. Maybe even lemon verbena and different things like that. So we'll see. No hurry. Look at that. This is the back side of a tomato plant. We have gotten hundreds and hundreds of tomatoes. No joke. Look at the tomatoes. They grow like grapes, these tomatoes. I love these tomatoes. I'm going to definitely do a lot of cuttings on that. That is an amazing plant. Let's step out into the other part of the garden. Oh, and don't forget, that collard plant, that's the one the rabbits love. They sit under it, they eat collard all day. So since this video I can see as I'm walking through is so long, I'm going to break this one into 2 parts, but don't worry, you won't have to wait long for part 2. It will come up really quick. So for now, don't forget to eat what you grow, and this is just for now. You'll see part 2 real fast. So long? Or until then? I don't know what to say. See you soon? Ah, there you go. See you soon.